asparagus juice. This is something I have never seen before. I was expecting to take just one sip of this and then throw it away. It's not bad. Like, it doesn't taste quite like asparagus. It's surprisingly sweet. It also has, I don't know, like a little bit of like a canned vegetable juice flavor. I can't really describe it. It is sweet. It's a little bit, almost a little bit fruity. I've already drank half of the carton. I won't say it's amazing, but it is surprisingly drinkable.
In last week's video, I was in Kaohsiung, a city that almost felt deserted at times. The streets were wide, the spaces were open, and it felt like the crowds were hiding somewhere just out of sight. Today, I'm heading north to Tainan, and the contrast couldn't be stronger. This place is alive. There are people everywhere, tourists, food stalls, and something interesting in every corner. After finishing my asparagus juice in Kaohsiung, I hopped on a train to Tainan for a short stopover before continuing towards Taipei. And honestly, within minutes of arriving, it already felt like I had stepped into a completely different side of Taiwan. I have just arrived in Tainan. I am here for, unfortunately, less than 10 hours, and I want to walk around and see as much of this place as I can, try as much food as I can, because tonight I'm heading up to Taipei. Tainan isn't just another stop on the map. This is the birthplace of Taiwan as most people know it today. Long before Taipei became the capital, Tainan was the center of politics, trade, culture, and religion. Throughout the Qing dynasty and the Japanese era, the city grew into a place full of merchants, temples, and scholars. And that's why Tainan has such a distinct atmosphere. It feels older and almost more rooted, almost like the cultural memory of Taiwan lives in these streets.
You know, personally, I feel like Tainan is a lot more interesting to see compared to Kaohsiung. It's just my opinion, and maybe I just wasn't in the right areas back in Kaohsiung, but I like all the history here. There's a lot of very old buildings. It's a place that interests me a lot more. The first spot I want to visit is the Hayashi Department Store. This is a building that was built during the time of Japanese colonization. It was bombed by the Americans during the war, and then recently, I think in earlier 2000s, it was rebuilt.
From the outside, it almost looks like an ordinary historic building. But once you step inside, you realize it's actually one of the most meaningful landmarks in the entire city. The Hayashi Department Store was originally built in 1932 during the Japanese era, and at that time it was the tallest and most modern department store in southern Taiwan. This was where people came to see the newest fashions, the latest imported goods, and even the very first elevator in Tainan. For a lot of locals, visiting Hayashi was like getting a glimpse of the modern world they hadn't experienced before. Today, the floors are filled with indie Taiwanese brands, handmade crafts, traditional snacks, and little pieces of local culture that you won't find in a regular mall. On the rooftop, you can still see the old Shinto shrine remains and a view overlooking historic Tainan. Also on the rooftop, you'll find a small cafe selling a variety of Japanese foods and desserts, and a tofu pudding shop which we'll try after sampling the cafe's food.
Guess I'm eating things a little bit out of order here. I ordered the pork cutlet curry and a pudding from this place. Wow, that thing is really sweet. This pork cutlet and curry rice looks really nice. Japanese curry is one of my favorites. It's just such like a warming dish. Their pork cutlet is really soft too. Soft on the inside, crunchy on the outside. Now this is a tofu pudding like nothing I have ever seen before. In Hong Kong you get typically like plain ones, or they put some sugar on it. This one that they have here, they say it's like a Japanese style, and it has chili oil on top of it with peanut crisp. I guess it kind of transforms it into a more savory style rather than like the sweet ones that you get in Hong Kong. In northern China, they do a lot more savory tofu puddings like this. It's actually surprisingly good. The tofu itself doesn't actually have too much flavor, so I feel like you're really tasting the chili oil. It's really nice. Every time I come to Taiwan, I feel like I'm in Japan. It's like a light version of Japan. I feel like if you compare Taiwan with China, Taiwan is more similar to Japan than it is to China, admittedly. I think it's just the architecture and the culture, especially with like traffic. Even in Hong Kong, I feel like cars have the right of the way. Very few people will stop their car and wait for pedestrians to cross. Whereas over here, if you're in the crosswalk, people will stop their cars and wait for you to cross. I feel like I'm not used to that because every time I enter a crosswalk, I feel like I get into this awkward situation where I stop, I hesitate, I wait for the car to go, it doesn't go. It's a little confusing.
As you walk around Tainan, you start noticing hints of Japan everywhere. That's because during the 50 years of Japanese rule, the city was redesigned in a way that still shapes how it feels today. Neighborhoods were planned in neat grids, and public buildings were built with the clean lines and brick and concrete style you'd see in the early 20th century Japan.
So even though I say that Taiwan is more similar to Japan than it is to China, at least in certain aspects, I feel like you cannot deny the Chinese history and heritage of the island. Right behind me is a Confucian temple that was built around the year 1666, I think, which is close to the beginning of the Qing dynasty.
Standing here at the Confucius Temple, you feel a completely different side of Tainan. Before the Japanese era, before the modern city grew around it, this place was the cultural heart of Taiwan's earliest Chinese communities. Tainan was the island's first capital, and temples like this where education, philosophy, and government all overlapped. It's one of the oldest Confucian temples in Taiwan, and you can almost sense how important it must have been for the families who settled here centuries ago. What I like about this spot is how it reminds you that Taiwan's story didn't come from just one direction. Yes, the Japanese shaped the city in big visible ways, but long before that, Chinese settlers were building schools, temples, and entire neighborhoods based on traditions they brought from Fujian.
Now here's a unique dish that I've never seen before. I was just walking down this street and I saw people lining up for this stall. Now apparently this is a century-old 4th generation shop that sells these really unique rice cakes. When I got it, I wasn't sure if this was a dessert, if it was something sweet, or if it was savory. And it's a very savory dish. It's like a rice cake and it has egg, shrimp, pork. It kind of tastes like a lo mai gai actually. It was quite nice. Just like how every city in China has a pedestrian street, I guess Tainan also has a pedestrian street. Kind of similar vibes. They've got the same type of random fashion brands, a lot of different street snacks, claw machines. There are tons of dessert shops, tea shops, random foods. I feel like at some point I do need to get a drink. I've been walking around here for a couple hours. I think I'll go in here and get some of this ayu jelly drinks. Ayu jelly actually comes from a seed. I can't remember, it's like a fig type of plant or something, but it's got these seeds inside of it. They take it out, and they like smash it up, and it creates this jelly. It's quite nice actually if you've never had it, but I feel like ayu jelly is pretty popular. You can find it pretty commonly in the States now, I think. This is really, really refreshing. This is a donggua winter melon ayu jelly lemon tea. Really nice.
Tainan is just one of those places that's fun to wander around. Every corner has something going on, like little pop-up events full of stalls selling random goods, street art on display, shops selling handmade stuff, and food everywhere. This town felt alive to me. It was one of the first places in Taiwan that I genuinely enjoyed exploring without a plan. What I really like is that the city actually feels built for people to be outside. You see families out shopping, students grabbing snacks, tourists slowly drifting around. It's busy, but not in a stressful way. It's more like this comfortable, creative sort of chaos. You can tell the city really supports its small shops and artists because this whole area has this warm community vibe. For me, this ended up being one of the best parts of Tainan. You're not just walking from one tourist spot to another, you're in a neighborhood that people actually use and enjoy. And that makes exploring here genuinely fun.
When I was in Kaohsiung, I mentioned how I felt like I had been walking around, but I struggled to find some things that I thought were interesting, or, it felt like a city that was very kind of like industrial. There wasn't a whole lot of touristic appeal, but up here in Tainan, it's completely different. Like I've been walking for hours in all directions, and I'm seeing like so much food, so much snacks. It's like impossible for me to cover all of this city in a day. Like I think you could spend at least a couple days here. You could spend forever here, honestly, trying all the different restaurants and desserts, and you would never run out of something to try. There's just so many different like pockets within the city, different areas that all have different histories or different stories to tell, really. It's a place that I think I would love to come back to, spend a little bit more time here and exploring in a little bit more detail. This is a city where I feel like I'm seeing a lot of different parts of the world, a lot of different places that I've been to, all in one place.
On my way to the night market, I ended up wandering into Shennong Street. And this is the moment when Tainan's history really started to make sense to me. You look around and the whole street feels like the older Chinese side of the city. The shop houses, the lanterns, the way everything is built so close together, it reminds you that Tainan was the first major Chinese settlement in Taiwan, and a lot of that early character is still here.
I've been walking for about 40 minutes at this point, and I finally reached the night market. This one is a lot bigger than the one. Well, this one is more square, so it's kind of hard to say, but it looks like it has more stalls than the ones that I went to in Kaohsiung yesterday. There's so many people in here and so many different options. Okay, I definitely got to pace myself with this night market. Don't want to buy too much food. I've already eaten so much today. So far, I've picked up two things. First one is Taiwanese fried chicken. This is something that if you come to Taiwan, I feel like this is a must-eat. Had them add curry seasoning on this. This small portion was only 50, which I think is like, what, $2 or something? It's pretty cheap. Then the other thing I got is this corn on the cob. She put some type of coating on this corn though. I don't know what this is. This is kind of sweet and savory at the same time. It's got like a slightly herbal, kind of tastes like a root. It's really good, but I really don't know what this seasoning is. This one was 75 Taiwan dollars, not too bad. All right, let's jump back in here for round two. 你好，我有一个香肠，然后一个这个。
你要胡椒吗？
要。
这个25。
好。
你好。
I just ordered a beef fried rice. I think that'll be probably my last thing I get from this market. It's a lot of food, honestly. And when you're the only one here, it ends up being that I can't try as much food as I would like to. I did grab some of these extra meat things here. This is like one of those bloods rice cakes. Usually it's like duck blood. Wow, and she added some spicy powder onto this. This tastes really good. I love to eat these actually. I don't know what it is about them, but they're just like chewy. One of my favorite night market foods here in Taiwan. Before I dig into that rice, another Taiwan classic that I feel like you have to get is the Taiwanese sausage. These are like really sweet. They are very oily though. And last but not least, I have this extra spicy fried rice with beef. This thing is loaded with these chili peppers, so it has a lot of spice in it. However, I will say it's not the spiciest thing I've ever had.
Well, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. In the next video, I'll be back in the mainland exploring Foshan, the ancient Kung Fu city of southern China. If you don't want to miss my upcoming videos, be sure to click the subscribe button down below. Anyways, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.